Liam, just a brief reflection. You probably don't want to, but just a brief reflection on Tuesday. You know, booing from the fans, disappointment, frustration. We talked in detail about it on Tuesday. I just wonder if there's been further reflection, as there usually is with you and the side after that very immediate reaction on Tuesday.
Yeah, of course. Straight after the game, you get the rawness of the emotion, and then the players were the same: frustrated, disappointed, angry as well because we don't want to perform like elements that we showed in the game. And then the biggest part is then how you respond the next day, and obviously the 2 days leading into the next game. So as always, went home, watched the game, and to be fair, it was half as I expected in terms of we got into some really good areas for the first 60 minutes. It was just in the final bit. Build up from Jamie, the way we built in the back half, the areas we got into, we then just rushed it or lacked quality in, either decision or execution on the final pass. And there was just such a high volume. We showed the players on Thursday, such a high volume of nearly moments, which for 60 minutes we can't be nearly. We have to execute, we have to deliver, we have to step up and take responsibility. And then the goal, we started the second half well. The goal obviously then shifts the momentum, and it's like a double sucker punch when you'd come out, you'd got on top, you'd started to do well, and then you concede, against the run of play. It feels, even worse than conceding just generally. So, and then we spoke about the last bit, and we as always, it's around developing, it's around improving, it's around taking the experience, and then moving forward. Because there was a, despite the outcome of the game and certain aspects, there was still some really good things that the players must take from it.
Are we starting to see that where some people, I don't count myself included in those people, but some people thought that it would be players leave, new players come in, give it a couple of weeks, everything will roll back to the way it was, beating teams up and down the country. Are we seeing that that's just simply unrealistic?
Yeah, look, everybody hopes that that's the way it kind of goes, and you hope that that's going to happen. But you speak to obviously a lot of people in the game. Talking with Ian after the game on Tuesday, Bolton went through a similar thing a year ago. Spoke down at Exeter, good friends with Matty Taylor, the manager there. They went through it 2 years ago, and they were fortunate enough that the stadiums were empty at the time, so there was less in terms of on the players. So yeah, I think if you look at any team, Chelsea have started like it this year in terms of a big transition, etc., etc. So I think when you look at it, it's a massive transition. It's huge. It's 14 players, which especially if you then add on top of that the fact that we've not had any training time. That makes it really difficult then to get the principles of play out, to get certain aspects out when you're not training together as a group and able to implement the principles and educate people on how you want to play. So it's a process that takes time. It's one that we don't have time. We have to win games. We have to learn quickly. We have to move forward quickly. But the big thing for me that we spoke to the players around was it wasn't for a lack of effort. It wasn't for attitude. It wasn't that we carried anybody, which for me, if that was the case, I'd be sat here worried. But it wasn't that at all. The players are honest. They're hardworking. They're trying. They now need the support and the development alongside it to start to improve on the performances to get the results. So said it from day one of the season. It's going to be ups and downs, steps forward, steps back. And understandably, it's going to take time.
Would you say this is your toughest moment as head coach of MK Dons?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it from a result perspective. Yeah, of course. We won a lot of games last year, so we want to win games. And the same as the players. The players don't go out deliberately to make mistakes or deliberately go out to get it wrong or not win. For me, it's a challenge. It's one that I'm actually quite excited by in terms of what we can do to the group, and I know it's not far away. I'm confident and believe in the group that it will turn, and we'll start to get closer to the performance levels that we want, which will then lead to the results. So I think that's the big bit for me. In that, look, we're not going to accept anything that's happened, but we have to quickly learn from it and quickly start turning things around in the right direction to get the outcome that we want.
A former MK Dons manager up next at Oxford then in Carl Robinson. You seem to share a few words and certainly have time to talk. I'd imagine talking comes more from one side, but you get the opportunity to discuss the game with Carl, and there's a little extra spice in the game, of course, with Carl being a former MK Dons manager.
Yeah, I know I said it, last year. Obviously, Carl's record here speaks for itself in terms of what he achieved at the club. And he's the times we've spoken, he's been hugely supportive of the club and things that he found here. So he's someone that I speak to that he's been good to talk to and share bits. He's obviously done extremely well and had a good career in League One as well. So there's lots of bits there as well that you to pick on. So yeah, be a good game, one that looking forward to getting into. That's for sure.
And you need something from it, don't you? You need to get a result of some description. Just don't lose, I guess.
Yeah, of course. That won't be the emphasis. The emphasis will be do all the actions and the behaviours that we need to get the outcome that we want. I think sometimes if you go in and you focus everything on winning or everything on scoring goals, I think that sometimes it has the adverse effect. Go into the game and let's have more quality. Let's make better decisions. Let's technically execute it. Let's run as hard as we can. Let's do it all together, aligned as a team. And for me, if we get that bit right and we do it, to the level we're capable of, then you'll get the outcome from the game that you want. That'll be the message for the players.
Everything okay? We didn't see Ethan Robson at all on Tuesday. Everything okay with Ethan?
Yeah, he had a little tweak in his groin on the Saturday, which was a little bit disappointing. So nothing major, just it's one of those where be a couple of weeks. So we'll obviously with the Lincoln game being off, it gives him a little bit of extra time, but he won't be available tomorrow.
I mean, did you welcome that game being called off?
It gave us an extra session. It gives us an extra, obviously, training block and also the rest. I think it's just such a crazy schedule. I look at October and we're Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday for the whole of October. So again, when I look at it in terms of the volume of meetings, and on the staff as well, it's a crazy, relentless, schedule. Which, again, the forces you to be creative in other ways you coach because we don't get the opportunity to train as a group. It's very limited the time that we have. So we have to be creative with that. So yeah, I think that next week and the week leading into Peterborough allows us a bit of an opportunity to work with a group that aren't obviously away in international duty.
And we just had a chat with Will, Liam. Really interesting to hear his thoughts. He was a great talker, is Will, and his philosophy on working with Matt Dennis. Two players, one that's raw and you can see what they want to do. Sometimes maybe trying a bit too hard, and somebody like Will, who's got the experience, knows how to put the ball in the back of the net, and that combination of the two of them could actually, over time, really develop into something, couldn't it?
Yeah, Griggy's terrific. I think him as a player and as a person's terrific. I think when you look at it, such knowledge of the game. His game intelligence is terrific. His timing of his movement, how he lands on things. You only have to look at the goals that were away at Morecambe, which kind of typify him in terms of he's 2-3 steps ahead of people. So there's a huge amount of knowledge and experience in there, and what we've tried to do, as well as obviously concentrating on the contribution to the team and what he brings to the team, is actually try to pull some of that out of Griggy's head to pass on to Matt Dennis, to JJ, to Kempe, to Dara. Can we pull out some of that knowledge, that experience, and that that just his game intelligence, and can we actually get some of that into the other guys? So he's really bought into that, and he's been terrific for the the younger attacking players that we've got, in that he'll pass bits and pieces on as much as he can.
Thanks, Liam. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
4 international call-ups then in your squad. It must be terrific news for all of them.
Yeah, look, obviously, first and foremost, a proud moment for any player to represent their country. So yeah, they'll obviously go away after the game tomorrow. We wish that they do well. We want them to carry, go away, perform, deliver, and do well. So yeah, it's terrific recognition for them individually, but also for the club that we've got, players going away to represent their countries as well.
We mentioned it, didn't we, in pre-season, that Matt will obviously have half an eye on getting a spot in Qatar later this winter.
Yeah, it's part of his planning, obviously, to try and get into that squad. So, and like any of the guys, about performing. It's about delivering, and that's ultimately what will get him in the squad is, consistently playing for us and consistently performing to a high level. So, that doesn't change in terms of us. The message that we give him, we want him to go. it's a terrific opportunity for him, but also for the club to have someone, at the World Cup. So we'll be pushing him, here day to day, but also in the games to first and foremost deliver for us and try and get us to perform to a consistent level and us start winning games. Because ultimately, if the team is doing well, performing well, and being successful, then individuals benefit off the back of that.
And I suppose, given the fact that Dawson, Josh, and Daniel are being called up to the junior squads of international sides, it shows that managers are watching MK Dons, and there's a lot of opportunity for what is your very young squad to have those call-ups.
Yeah, no, and I think what it does is actually further enhance the development of the lads that are going away. So having different experiences, going to different countries, playing against different styles. They're things that when they come back in that can be of an advantage and a benefit for the lads that do come back. So yeah, it's a great opportunity for them to go away to represent their countries, to represent us as a club whilst they're away, and then hopefully bring that confidence and that form back to club football.
Is it a gift and a curse though? Knowing that you don't have these players. Well, obviously with the game being postponed, but if you go into it with a bit of momentum, if you win on Saturday, you'll probably want games thick and fast.
Yeah, it's always that challenge, is it? In terms of trying to find that balance, that sweet spot of work and rest, because it is just think back to the week where we had, what was it, Morecambe away, Cheltenham at home, and Exeter away. I think spending best part of 20 hours on a coach, which takes a lot out of you. So the next 2 weeks is around finding that balance of, look, we need to work, we need to ultimately up our levels, and we need to train hard in order to do that and get people's understanding of the game, of how we play, up to speed. But at the same point, they do need a little bit of a rest physically and mentally, just because what we've just had and what we're about to walk into is relentless.